Has someone such as a teacher, parent, or coach ever had a high expectation for you, and though you were sure you couldn't do it, you worked really hard and achieved or even exceeded the goal? Congratulations, you just experienced the Pygmalion Effect. The Pygmalion or Rosenthal effect can be boiled down to a single statement. Higher expectations lead to higher performance. Your positive belief about a person's capabilities impact your behavior toward the person, which in turn influences the person's beliefs about themselves. How they feel about themselves impacts their own behavior toward you. This confirms and strengthens your original beliefs about them and so on, basically creating a cycle of challenging positivity. The term comes from the Greek mythology about a sculptor named Pygmalion who carved an ivory statue of a woman so perfect that he fell in love with his creation. In despair, Pygmalion prayed to Venus, the goddess of love, asking her to bring him a woman like the statue. She was so inspired by his love that she brought the statue to life. Yeah, the secondary name for this phenomenon makes more sense to us. In 1963, Harvard psychologist Robert Rosenthal tried an experiment using a controlled laboratory environment. He had two groups of students coach rats through a maze, misinforming one group that their rats were especially bred to be smart and maze bright, while telling the other group that their rats were dumb and maze dull. In actuality, there was no difference between the two groups of rats. All were just ordinary lab rats and randomly assigned to the bright or dull group. However, during the experiment, the smart rats far outperformed the dumb rats. This showed that the expectations of the coaches and how they trained their rats as a result of those expectations affected the behavior of the rats. Based on the success with this experiment, Rosenthal conducted a large study, this time with humans at an elementary school. Working with the principal Lenore F. Jacobson, Rosenthal administered an IQ test to the students at Spruce Elementary School in South San Francisco. Afterwards, teachers were told that some of the students were intellectual bloomers and should do better academically as compared to their classmates. The teachers were given a list of the bloomers' names. In reality, randomly, 20% of the students were designated as intellectual bloomers. Over the next school year, the designated bloomers excelled as predicted. At the end of the study, 8 months later, Rosenthal once again tested the students using the same IQ test. In all grades, students both in the 20% bloomer group and in the regular student control group showed an average gain in IQ from the first IQ test to the second IQ test. However, the intellectual bloomers group gained more IQ points on average relative to the regular students. Overall, in grades 1st through 6th, the bloomer group showed about a 12-point gain as compared to an 8.5-point gain for the control group. First and second grade bloomers showed significant IQ gains, on average upward of 27 points. This led to the conclusion that teacher expectations in their students' potential, particularly for young children, can influence student achievement. Rosenthal's study reverberated through the education system. Basically, everyone has great potential if only their teacher would encourage it. Rosenthal's experiment was somewhat controversial and criticized for weak methodology. Some felt that the IQ test Rosenthal used was flawed. Teachers at the school ended up feeling angry and betrayed. Since then, researchers have endeavored to recreate Rosenthal's study with varying degrees of success. Results seem to be most fruitful when a teacher's behavior is subconsciously driven, meaning that results tend to be not as strong when a teacher consciously creates expectations and alters their actions, as opposed to truly believing in someone and acting accordingly. Even so, the Pygmalion Effect is a powerful tool, and skills for encouraging the effect are taught in educator and leadership management courses, and are practiced in business, militaries, and schools around the world. So, what happens when a person has a negative expectation of you? Yes, the opposite of the Pygmalion Effect is true. Lower expectations lead to lower performance. It's called the golem effect. The effect is named after the golem, a magical clay creature in Jewish mythology. In one legend, the golem was here in Jewish mythology to protect the Jews of Prague. However, over time, the golem was corrupted to the point of being a danger to those he was supposed to serve and had to be destroyed. As you can imagine, the Pygmalion and golem effects can have a severe ramification when teacher, boss, or coach, etc. has a personal bias for or against a particular ethnicity, gender, or frankly any other way people categorize other people. Also, both effects are self-fulfilling prophecies. Whether the expectations come from us or others, the effect manifests in the same fashion. An interesting, non-scientific experiment variation on these phenomenon was carried out by teacher Iowan Jane Elliott in 1968. Searching for a way to explain racism to her all-white third grade class the day after Martin Luther King was assassinated. Elliot segregated her students into blue-eyed and brown-eyed groups. On the first day, she told the class that the blue-eyed people were superior and treated the students accordingly. Among other injustices, brown-eyed students had 5 fewer minutes of recess and weren't allowed to play with the blue-eyed students. In class, the brown-eyed students were forced to sit at the back of the classroom. Throughout the day, Elliot made various comments about inferiority of brown-eyed students. The following day, the status was reversed, with brown-eyed students being superior and the blue-eyed students considered inferior. Elliot found that during the day they were considered inferior, the students' work suffered. Also, she was shocked to discover how quickly the attitudes of children in the superior group turned vicious and discriminating. After the exercise was over, Elliot had her class write essays on the experience. She ended up getting some of the essays published in her local newspaper. The reaction to Elliot's experiment was explosive and she was ostracized by her town. However, she went on to become a diversity educator, and some of her later work became the basis for modern corporate diversity training. So, what does this all mean? Well, unfortunately, you can't control people's opinions of you. The truth is that ultimately, no matter how amazing you are, someone's probably going to have a negative opinion of you and treat you accordingly. So our best suggestion is to Pygmalion yourself. The mentor, teacher, or boss you want or need simply may not show up in your life. You can spend valuable time waiting around for them, or you can do some personal work and create some aspects of such a relationship in yourself. So how can you apply the Pygmalion effect to your personal, academic, or professional life? Have high expectations for yourself and set ambitious goals to reach. What would you like your life to look like a year from now? 5 years from now? Create a goal map for yourself, listing out smaller steps to take that lead to achieving a big goal. Don't forget to build in rewards for achieving various mini goals along the way to a bigger challenge. Try to develop and improve your sense of personal responsibility. Explore and cultivate your strengths and passions. What do you like to do? What are you interested in? Sure, work on weaknesses too, but focus on your strengths. Improving a weakness frequently means that you can go from mediocre to okay or not bad, but when you work on your strengths, you can strive for mastery or excellence. Manage your weaknesses so they aren't hindrances, but put the majority of your energy into cultivating your strengths. Write out a personal pep talk that you can read aloud when you're frustrated, anxious, discouraged, or having a bad day. Your pep talk should mention some of your past achievements, things you like about yourself, and plans for the future. Surround yourself with thoughtful, positive people who support you and your goals and have goals of their own they're striving toward. Sometimes it's not possible to remove negative or unhealthy people from your life. As much as possible, ignore the haters. Are you who the others say you are, or are you who you want to be? You can also practice the Pygmalion effect with other people. You don't have to be their teacher or boss to be a force for positive change in their life. Have high yet realistic expectations of them. Listen attentively during conversations and don't cut your conversation partner off while they're speaking. Offer encouragement, be respectful, and value other people's time. In the famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Powerful Lessons in Personal Change, Stephen R. Covey says, "Treat a man as he is, and he'll remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he'll become as he can and should be." How can that quote play out in your life? Do you have a particular incident where the Pygmalion effect happened in your life? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video, Scientifically Proven Best Ways to Study. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.